Good afternoon, everyone. Then we'll move on to our next session of the second part of this seminar. It is the panel discussion. I welcome Ms. Arathi Manay. She is a market reader who loves to run and write. She has been actively involved in issues that affect citizens, including apartment management, waste management, and lakes. Apart from her professional work as a market researcher, she is a community anchor with Citizen Matters. I welcome you, ma'am. She is the moderator of this panel discussion. The next panelist is Mr. Satish Mallya, a professional with 3 decades of varied experience in industrial sector with multinational companies, entrepreneur since 2014 in weighing and measuring automation business. By education, an engineer with management degree, presently governing council member and joint secretary at Bangalore Apartments Federation, working with its members to focus on technical advisory for apartment community. I welcome you, sir. Aditya, sir, you're also welcome for the panel discussion. Sneha, ma'am, please welcome. Suresh, sir, you're also welcome for the discussion, sir. Then we have Mr. Roy, who's got about 40 years of experience on projects, including execution, project coordination, quantity surveying, and preparation of construction drawings. Sir, I welcome you. Vikas, sir, welcome back. I request Arathi ma'am to conduct the panel discussion. Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you all have had a satisfying lunch, and the only thing is don't go to sleep. I hope we are able to keep you awake. So we will be taking your questions related to STP, WTP, legal, handover takeover, and anything related to apartments. Among all of us, it's only Mr. Satish Mallya from BAF, whom you haven't heard as an organization. So we'll start with him. He will just give you a small background about BAF and what they do.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, just briefly talk about BAF. BAF is Bangalore Apartment Federation. We are a federation of apartment management committees. In the sense, so we have about 1,200 apartments committee as our members. We help them on various aspects. So how we work is that we have about 25 clusters. Each cluster will manage about 50 or 60 management committees. Help them on various aspects like legal or government interaction of some issues. So I am come from the technical advisory groups, so where I interact with maybe weekly basis with the BESCOM, Pollution Control Board, BBMP, and other government agencies who have interaction with our apartment, some issues and some other things. So I help my member community in apartment to overcome their difficulties or escalate some issues, and on policy matters, reach out to GOK and other things. So we have a 3-member team in advisory role. We 3 people will manage all these 1,200 on technical aspects. So I'm here to take questions from you on technical aspect. Anything on other things we can also try to answer during the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish. So You know, when an apartment is being handed over and the association or the group of owners is taking it over, one of the important aspects is that that apartment is actually legally occupiable. And we find that there are a lot of apartments which are occupied where the association already has taken over, but those apartments, you may find, don't have an occupancy certificate. In such a situation, is it wise for an association to take over without an occupancy certificate being there? And if they're forced to do that, what is actually the best way that they can do it? The first question we throw to Sneha.
Thank you, Aarti. No, to answer that straight off, no, I wouldn't advise anybody to take handover without an OC. In fact, today, you should not even occupy your apartment or even register the sale deed for that matter without the OC. So it's very important that the builder gets the OC. You can, even if you have an agreement to sell in your name, if the OC is not obtained, you have various forums, be it RERA, be it consumer, be it civil court, depending on what result you want and which is the fastest. We can even take a call in terms of where to approach, but in simple terms, no, please don't take handover, or for that matter, don't even occupy your flats and register the sale deed without an OC.
We'll throw it open for questions because everybody's already heard what Vikas does, what Aditya does, and what Hemati is doing. So we have one request. Try to keep your questions a little crisp because we've got approximately 45 minutes for this discussion. I think Sneha is going to be fairly busy because a lot of the questions are legal questions. So the question is, what is the process of registration of a property? What should be the sequence? Like the OC, Kata, sale deed, what is the hierarchy in which apartment owners need to look out for documents? And for an apartment, when they look at an OC which the builder gives them, what do they need to check out and watch out for? Because OCs could be issued on the condition that certain things are fulfilled. Those are called conditional OCs. So what do apartments need to look out for?
So those are two sets. I'll answer the first one in terms of what is the hierarchy. Let me start. When you come to, if it's apartments, first your individual flats are also important. Then comes handover of the common areas. So generally, once you book an apartment, the first thing you do is enter into an agreement to sell. Now, once you enter into an agreement to sell, the construction starts, the building comes up, all that happens. Now, ideally, no document should be signed, nothing should be signed until you get an OC. So after agreement to sell comes the OC. And once the OC is procured, the next thing that happens is the sale deed for individual apartments. Like I mentioned, in most cases, in the sale deeds itself, UDS for the entire extent of land, including common areas, is usually given at that point itself. Right? So once the sale deed is registered, the next step, in fact, I would say, as of today, KOA is still the prevalent law under which you register an association, right? So before you register a sale deed, ensure that your builder has already made this deed of declaration and bylaws and it's a registered document. Because KOA unfortunately requires signature of every single apartment owner to form, or to sign or execute and register this DOD. So it is a very cumbersome process after you do a handover and then you want to register under KOA. So typically agreement to sell, then you need to ensure your DOD and bylaws are registered, and then OC, and then comes your sale deed. After sale deed, Kata. Now Kata in terms of apartment, what happens is the Kata for the entire extent of land will be in the name of the builder or the landowner or joint Kata, whatever that is. Thereafter, once an association is formed, this Kata needs to be bifurcated. So if it is, let's say, 1 acre of land, the kata is for this 1 acre of land, and there are, say, 100 apartments that are constructed, this kata will be bifurcated into 100 different katas. So then kata will, unless this bifurcation order comes, you will not get a kata in your independent flat. So the bifurcation becomes important to get the kata. So I think and then comes, of course, the handover of the common areas to the association. I think that I've already taken you through. So that is the general hierarchy.
Yeah. Can I have a follow-up question on that?
OC, what to check in an OC? See, all OCs come with conditions. Now the OC is given based on the fact that all these portions of the building are complete. And let's say that tomorrow there's a deviation. Let's say you've gotten the OC and then you suddenly decide to break some structure in your apartment. Then OC can be withdrawn because it's not as per the sanction. Or let's say you've constructed something and then you start putting up additional construction to an already constructed, and that again becomes violation of the sanction plan, then your OC can be withdrawn. So when an OC is given, they will give you saying that, okay, you're fire compliant, you're X compliant, you're Y compliant, these are all, we have come and checked, you've been compliant and therefore OC is given. The minute you become, the one of the conditions given there, you become incompliant or you don't comply with it or you've deviated, you've omitted, then of course OC can be withdrawn. And if builder is committed that, then of course you can always take action against the builder regarding the same.
I got 2 follow-up questions on that.
Should be the sale deed, should be replica of sale agreement, or can it be independent?
No, they are different documents, sir. Under the sale agreement, generally you don't get possession. Under the sale deed, you get possession. They are different documents altogether. There is no replica.
Mostly sale deed comes from sale agreement, no, all those.
Sale agreement is a promise to give you the apartment. Sale deed is a confirmation deed giving you the apartment. It's a title document, it's a conveyance deed.
So it does not have to be replica of sale agreement at all.
I don't know what the word replica means,
They
but
took copy
they're
to copy.
different documents.
They're different documents.
They're
Okay,
different
thank you.
If I can just clarify, it will have similar sort of information also.
Question you were asking.
It will have. You need to ensure that those small pieces of information about like the extent of area and it was owned by this person and handed over to this person. I mean that whole sequence of events, yeah. So all of that will be replicated if I use the word you're using, but the documents are 2 separate documents.
Yeah, 2 follow-up questions. One is you mentioned about the registration of a property before getting the OC. See, what normally happens is, if you have the OC in place, when you go to book a flat, you don't have to pay GST. But when you don't have the OC in place, you have to pay GST. So there is a big difference in that. So how do we circumvent that?
Sir, I'm sorry, but I'm going to talk like a lawyer here, right? I'm not here to save tax for anybody. But if I have to legally answer that question, I would say, please don't take possession. Don't take sale deed without the OC.
Okay.
Yes.
No, this was an issue when we went to buy the flat, and luckily we had the OC. The second one is, see, the OC normally contains the entire built-up area along with the common area, correct? What happens if some of the common areas are not mentioned in the OC, but it has been mentioned in our registered sale deed? Like for instance, swimming pool, multi-purpose hall, gym, children's play area, these do not reflect in the OC. But in the sale deed of individual apartment owners, it has been mentioned very clearly that's with the super built-up area.
What you need to look at specifically in the AC is your entire built-up area. If that area is covered, you don't need details of swimming pool, clubhouse, all that need not be specifically written, sir. Okay. The area is covered, it's more or less, I think,
So
because sometimes, see, most OCs that I've seen have common area, basement, very generic. They don't go into details.
They have put the common pathway, the lift area and all those things they have put, but they have not mentioned the swimming pool.
You should then check with your builder to get a clarification on that.
So it's nothing wrong if it's not mentioned there and it's there in your sale deed.
No. Sanction plan will show 100%. Some OCs don't capture every single item.
No, in the DOD, I think when you register, you will be mentioning the amenities, right? So that is enough for you, right? No, the question was, the OC it is not mentioned. I think normally they won't mention. They won't mention because your entire area is captured there. Okay, the sanction plan is totally different. Now, for you as a individual home buyer, you have a DOD, right? In that amenities mentioned. So it is covered for, you are legally bound to this thing, right? So there is no issue.
Hemati, do you all match the OC conditions to the actual facilities available in the apartment? This, I'm sure, is a question people.
Yeah, whenever we do the audit, we check the sanction plan, whether things have been executed as per sanction plan. Many times we do notice the deviations, we do bring it up, and it is up for the association to take it up. Somebody said swimming pool is not mentioned. I have seen many sanction plans, the swimming pool is mentioned. So it is not that it is not mentioned, it is also mentioned. And the question was what is there in the OC but not in the sale deed. I think the sale deed is ultimate thing what covers. So that is it. We do check all these things and bring up the deviations. Hope it answers.
More than 90% of the apartments are occupied without OC. So what
Where did you get that figure from?
majority of the apartments do not have OC and we have occupied. Now we are not in a position to vacate the house also. So what precautions we have to take to safeguard the residents? Because that was the practice in the entire Bangalore before RERA came, you know. After RERA came into existence,
that you'll have to look at on a case-by-case basis, I think.
some precautions,
You can get in touch with Sneha.
because
to see what
Kathas
you can
also we
do.
are not getting. Under Akrama Sakrama case, it is also pending.
Hello, madam. Ours is a big complex, 85 acre, and the STP and treatment, WTP, etc., are shared by 2, 3, 4 buildings. So how do we handle this? 3, 4 complexes.
3, 4 complexes, sir, or 3, 4 towers?
No, 3, 4
So
complexes.
it is 3, 4 different apartment associations.
See, our is Irene 3 towers. Then there is Serene, Belvedere, and so many. All are discharging in a common STP.
So the easiest way would be to look at what it costs you to keep that STP running in terms of electricity, in terms of manpower, in terms of consumables, you know, so on and so forth, and divide the cost equally amongst everyone. The builder would have clearly mentioned in whatever document, I'm not a legal person, but I've seen a lot of cases amongst apartments and RWAs where they've built the STP in phase 1 and then phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, or they name it differently and they're different associations. So one practice, okay, it is a common asset of everyone. It is a piece of infrastructure. Right? So everyone owns it.
One thing is in our apartment complex, there is phase 1 and phase 2. Okay, before the phase 1 started somewhere around 2021 early. Okay, and OC was obtained for phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 2 was not yet ready. It was started occupying later. Is it not a violation? Because phase 2 also is given OC. Because only 6 towers were ready, total 12 towers. For the second phase also, they have given the OC in the beginning itself. That's what the
You're speaking about the OC, is it?
OC only. I am sticking to the OC.
Yeah, they give provisional partial OCs are.
No, it is a
issued.
full OC. It is the only one OC which our apartment complex got it.
Okay,
Prestige
so
Lake
what
Ridge
is your
apartment.
question, sir?
No, the thing is whether some people are raising now the legality of that because phase 2 was not at, occupation has not yet started or completion is not yet started, still going on, and OC was already given.
I just wanted to add to this gentleman's question on STP. I do have two apartments in my cluster who share the STP, WTP and all that. So what they have done is, they are different associations but in the same complex. So they have made a memorandum of understanding that what they will share and what is their contribution and all that as a society, I mean, as a RWA. So what is their share and what is their share? I think that is a good practice lawyer can.
Madam, one question here. With respect to UDS, somebody said that, UDS is mandatory to be mentioned in the DOD. If it is not mentioned in the DOD, should we go back to builder and ask for the corrections? So only the builder should do it, or even the association can do it later?
The builder can do a rectification.
So he has to do it. Okay. Again, the second question is, there are some, probably I can say, discussions that within our community, the CAM should be calculated on the basis of UDS and not on the basis of SBA. If anybody of you know something, but as per ERA, that's what we understand, that it should be calculated on the basis of UDS, not on the basis of SBA. Last question is with respect to the common area maintenance by a builder. See, if we are in a phase where we have to start the HOTO from the builder. Now the phase 1 and phase 2 are complete. As per our sale deed, it says the common area should be maintained by the builder till the assets are handed over to the association. But on the other side, the maintenance agency is forcing us to, enter with a contract to maintain the property. So which one do we follow?
See, best way of doing it, I think you have to take over the property, whatever the asset, as early as possible. That's what what I think they are also doing, suggesting, saying that no, you have to take over as early as possible. There are instances in the past that it take years to take all this. Now, what we suggest as a BAF member, plus we also have a MOU with CREDI now, saying that within 6 months you take over, because there's a clause while buying, saying that 1 year they'll maintain or something like that. That also you need not to form. You form a ad hoc committee, register your association, and take over first.
No,
and
it's
builder also willing to give, because the number of years passed now, a lot of things will be missed by the builder also to give you.
Sir, in our case, actually, the association is already existing from last 6 months nearly.
Okay.
And the committee is already formed. But now the situation is builder is not coming forward to, start the HOTO. We are pushing them literally. And now the situation is, till such time that builder will start the process or complete the HOTO, who will maintain the common area? Is it the builder or is it the association who has to do it?
One question to you. Sir, one question to you. Does this builder have his own in-house property management company?
Yes, sir.
He will never want to hand it over to you. He will never want to hand it over to you.
Agreed, sir. This is what even we have been observing. But how do we tackle this is one
See, I can only assure you now in this forum, if he's a CREDI member, we can be an arbitrator, we can do something for you. Okay, but I don't know about the normal small builders. But if it's a CREDI member, I think we can do something.
Sir, he's
offline we can get in touch with you.
Yeah, sure.
One question on STP. Is it feasible to extend the capacity of an existing STP? How can it be done? Can we, if there is empty space beside it, can something be done to increase the capacity of the STP?
Anything and everything can be done. If you have the will, there are a lot of people who have the skill to do it. Okay? And as a follow-up to that, let me tell you. Sometimes we engage with customers. I will not differentiate between my residential, industrial, commercial or municipal segments which we address. We start talking to them. They keep asking us for this, that, all the other. And suddenly, Google and YouTube are in vogue. So recently there was a case where I've been engaged with a customer in terms of the sales cycle for 2.5 years. 2.5 years was the sales cycle. Okay. It took me 3 days to fix that STP.
One of the issue here is actually to establish a STP, you have to have a CFE first. Okay, so CFE is given to you for a particular capacity. You want to, and you already subsequently to CFO you got it. Then once you go back again, you will open up the file of the old one and see why you under capacity you have done it. So all these issues are there, But it is possible technically you have to apply again CFE and come back to you. So if you apply again a new CFE, the old CFO also will be not useful. Revoked.
Sir, my question is about
Yes.
camp charges. See, nowadays people are saying per square feet basis or uniform basis. So how can we justify this?
See, KOA, nothing is told, but see, it is ultimately your bylaw, what your bylaw says. See, in Bangalore, there are apartments collecting on square feet basis for maintenance, and monthly they are also collecting for sinking fund. See, what is happening is legally or in income tax point of view, suppose you make a profit, you have to pay income tax, right? If you correct the exact amount or you budget it and take exact amount on square feet, and that will go to maintenance, it won't attract income tax. And you collect separately about per month 500, 1,000, whatever it is, per month for your sinking fund, that also won't attract income tax. So I think best way of doing it is a combination of square feet and a fixed charge for your sinking fund.
No, sir, I'm asking only about camp charges. See, one apartment starts from 1,000 square feet and it tends to 2,000 or 2,200 square feet. If it comes to uniform, 1,000 square feet people will pay more camp charges and 2,200 people will pay very less charges. So how can we counter attack, like how can we justify this? No, this is a uniform. No, this is a square feet basis. How can we go about it?
But as per law or anything, nothing is there. It is your bylaw. You define in the bylaw what you want to collect.
There are some civil suits that are also pending, wherein this has been challenged, saying that, look, common areas, how can you go by UDS, because common area is common to everybody. So that is still a question of law that we're trying to see. But strictly speaking, Karnataka Apartment Ownership Act says undivided share in the common area. That is the wordings that the act uses.
And last question. Madam, last question. See, the carpet area plus common area, it will come to built up area plus common area, it will come to super built up area. See, that common area, how they divide, will they divide uniformly flat wise or built up area wise?
It's built up area wise. It's built up
Area wise,
yes.
right? Okay.
Sir, regarding STP, so in my society, what the practice that has been going on is excess STP water is being flushed out to the drain, open drain. So when we questioned the builder about this, he said BWSSB has not laid the drainage pipes. So there's the practice that I'm going to follow. So we are worried, like what would be the implications of this and what legal consequence we might face and how to fix this.
Okay. There is a YouTube channel called BAF Ki Baat. How many of you know about it? Please raise your hands. Okay. YouTube, all of us have got smartphones. Sir, I'm not being rhetoric to you, but BAF Ki Baat is a YouTube channel. There's a wealth of information there. Right? Now, 2.5, 3 years ago, we had released a video which said that treated STP water, if it is well within the norms and you have each month test report, you have the absolute right to let it out into the storm water drain. The storm water drain is the drain under your footpath, comes under the purview of BBMP. BWSSB has nothing to do with it. When you let it out into the UGD, okay, which is the drains covered by the manholes, typically in the center of the roads, okay, that is not allowed. Because it defeats the whole purpose. You're treating the STP water on site. Treated water, you're letting out into the storm water drain so that by gravity, it flows out to the nearest lake or water body. Now, if your quantum of treated water is more than 50,000 liters per day, and typically it is, as a responsible citizen, I think you should have a dialogue with Vikas to see, what can be done with that water, because it is another revenue stream for you. I'm an apartment dweller. I'm the secretary and treasurer of my own apartment. Right? So I'm a tailor with my scissors. What can I cut? What can I cut? What can I cut? Because it's very difficult to stand in front of my residents in an AGM and say, maintenance is going up by 100 rupees. Right? So this is...
So your question on excess STP water, 3,000 plus apartments have the same issue. All of them have excess STP water because they're able to use only 20% for their flushing and garden, and we don't have acres of garden to use all the water. 1,000 liters is required, 1 acre requires 5,000 liters of water for garden. So every apartment has excess STP treated water. Now, few apartments, when they give it out, it sometimes comes back to the basement, so they end up paying tankers to send the excess water out. That is also happening. So, where it could help is this excess water which you have can be taken to a different grade and we can map it to an industry nearby. That will be a long-term solution for the apartment and for the industry. The industry will not exploit the same borewell which this apartment is exploiting. So this is one thing which you can look at. Now, second thing, this STP treated water, if people are not using it for flushing. So we did a survey of 200 apartments in Electronic City where STP treated water goes to the STP tank, but individually they bypass inside their apartment. They don't use it for flushing. So only 5%, 10% of STP treated water gets used. So probably an action to understand if people are really using STP water for flushing. If they are not using, find out the root cause on why they are not using. In spite of that, whatever excess, that can be handled and managed.
There are also organizations that will take your treated water and give it to construction sites. So you can, that's another source of revenue. So they were talking about sources of revenue. If you reach out to me, I'll give you the name of that organization. So they will take it, but it has to be within a certain area of construction. And that person building should be open to use treated water for their construction. But
yes.
That is between the person buying the water and them. But
Sir,
yeah.
70% of all STP treated water in Bangalore, and I can say this with some authority, does not meet any standards. And in your apartment, if you are not able to reuse 50% of the water treated, if you are treating 1 lakh liters of sewage in a day, if 50 to 60,000 liters you are not able to consume by way of flushing or gardening or car wash, okay? If that percentage is not 50 to 60%, that means that all your residents, as Vikas said, have done this bypass job. Like in my apartment, the fine per toilet not connected, per commode not connected to STP treated water is 5,000 rupees per incident. Every month, the plumber and 2 residents go and do this check.
Yeah, I just want to explain to him. Hello? Yeah, you had 2 questions. One is that excess water can be given to the stormwater drain. There is a circular from Pollution Control Board. It can be discharged to the stormwater drain. Second thing is BWSSB cannot in future give connection of your STP water to that because there is an NGT order which BAF has challenged it for a review petition. Now BWSCC cannot do anything because it's clearly verdict is there saying that treated water cannot be given to UGD. So that option is now not possible. Okay, definitely we are gone for a review petition in the NGT. We went to the Supreme Court, but Supreme Court said you go to the NGT back with a review petition. So chances are very rare that in future you can give your treated water to UGD. You can leave it to the stormwater drain, but you are not going to earn anything. But if you go for a treated water again to reuse for different purpose, at least you can earn some money out of it. And as Uday was telling about, there's a study happened in Indian Institute of Science on using this treated water for construction purpose. Unfortunately, Pollution Control Board is sitting with this last 2 years. If they are agreed to this possibility legally, as an apartment, you can sell this water for new construction, or the builder can sell this water. Your existing builder itself can buy this water for your next project. All these possibilities are there. But going forward, I think we have to look forward for reuse of this treated water.
Yeah, if I may come in here, see, basically the problem is why this excess water is coming in. You can start looking at the root cause of this. Basically, like at the consumption point, there is water outlet inside your flats. So there are quite some products
you can get in touch with me. I am dealing with such products. You can straight away save 40% of water straight away at the user end, at the tap end, so that at the end of the day, if all the particular aerators are used in all the your water outlets, you will be saving so much of water, 40% straight away. Your consumption comes down by 40%. So that much less water enters into your, STP, and your motors don't have to run that much. Power is saved. Your excess water is saved. Your life cycle of the equipment goes up, and your maintenance costs come down. So there is a whole lot of components in the chain that are going to perform well and more efficiently. Anybody interested in this offline after this, I would like to, can meet me. I'm here only till the end of the show. Yeah. Thank you.
Madam, I got one thing on the DOD. You know, about 2 years after we occupied the flat, of course without OC, this DOD was thrust under our nose. And the DOD is signed by the builder and registered also without informing us. And now he says you sign it. There are many clauses in that we object to. What is the solution for this, ma'am?
So, when did this DOD get registered? After the flats were sold to you or before?
After, 2 years after.
2 years after the flats, then the DOD itself is not a valid document.
Thank you. One from my side.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nishita. I have a question for Mr. Vikas. So basically, this is with relation to the water softeners, what we use for the apartments. So in that, we basically, to soften the water, we flush in amount of salt, some kgs of salt, as you mentioned. So I think some of the developed countries, I think, has passed a law saying that, this is basically banned. So is there any law in place in India, or and what about the water conditioning, what we use? Is it a fair thing than the water softeners?
Yeah, thanks for this question. So this salt which people use is calcium chloride which goes out to the drain. Ideally, softener which you have should dilute it to a level which is acceptable for standard discharge. If the softener is not designed well, then you have higher calcium chloride in the water and you cannot send it to STP, you cannot send it out. So first thing is, what is the concentration of calcium chloride brine which is going out? So for that, in the softener there is something called venturi. That venturi has to be proper to take in the right amount of salt and send out. As a thumb rule, as I said, 200 kg for every 1 lakh liters if your hardness is between 300 to 400 ppm. That's the volume which goes out. Now this regeneration which you do it for softener, this 1 lakh liters is for 0 to 5 ppm hardness, and we generally don't, only boilers require that high quality hardness. So as an apartment, it could be you maintain it below 80 ppm, below 50 ppm, so that you can reduce the salt consumption, meaning salt usage, first thing. In the US, there are 3 places where it is banned, where this brine was going to the central STP. So what was happening is they have a centralized STP. So there was large amount of brine solution going, which was disturbing the biology of STP. So this decided to ban. And it was in 2007-8, that time it was very enforced. But in India, this ban is still not there. The reason because government did a study in few areas, softener people put, but they don't put salt. After 1-2 times they put salt, after that they don't put salt. So they don't see any calcium chloride going out. So this brine problem did not come up, first thing. Second thing, all these conditioners which are available, right? There are different kinds of conditioners which are available. One is phosphate based conditioner, which coats the hardness with phosphate so that you don't have scale formation, it controls the scaling, but phosphate gets added to the water. Okay. Other one is a permanent magnet conditioner where they give electricity, they convert the hardness is in a form called calcite, it's triangular in form, gets converted to argonate so it doesn't bond to surfaces. All these have worked in the laboratory condition. In the real condition, what they say is it's 50% placebo. Meaning my neighbor says it's working, so I also, because there is no measurement with any conditioner. The seller, what they say is you will not have scales, you will not have spots. It is 50% efficiency, 70% efficiency, but there is no measurement. So that is why conditioner doesn't go with builders, because you cannot prove whether it is working or not. And even for suppliers, it doesn't go well. If someone says it is not working, we also don't know how to verify. So whether it is working or not is questionable. in most cases it works, but it predominantly depends on the varying incoming water quality. If your chloride is about 250, conditioner will not work. If your iron is 1.6 ppm, it won't work. So conditioner will work on very specific quality. So before you buy any conditioner, permanent magnet, soft, there are so many conditioners in the market. 2008, we were the first company to import a NSF 61 certified conditioner. We sold 70 units, okay, for builders. All the 70 units worked for 3-4 years, and then we replaced all the 70 with softener because builder was not able to prove that there is hardness reduction. They will say the scaling goes away, but hardness reduction you cannot prove. So they say there are two things. One,
So
conditioner.
that to after 24 hours, na? That if the storage is water for 24 hours, then only it would.
Yeah, 24 hours is one type. There is one thing called next scale stop which says 74 hours, 78 hours. So there is one more product, e-water harmonizer, which says 36 hours. No one can really measure how long, because you will have to get a molecular testing for calcite and argonite. That molecular testing will cost you 2.5 lakhs. So no one effectively, and by the time you take the water to testing the properties, you don't know what is there. CO2 would have escaped and things like that. So it's not measurable. It's now what has happened is in the market, there are lots of placebo product. People put some metal piece and they say it's a conditioner, good branding. So you really don't know. How do you measure? So that is a challenge now.
I'd like to add one more point. When you all negotiate contracts, right, in some places it is in fashion that, it's a comprehensive contract where for the STP it should include all the consumables, or for a WTP it should include all the consumables like salt, right? Those are the STPs and WTPs that are not functioning. When you pay for service separately and consumables separately, I get to bill you twice, I will use the right quantities of it. But if you say 70,000 bucks, do everything, I have to cut corners. And you will never know where corners are cut.
Does anybody have questions on handover for our two panelists from Nemadi? Can you get the mic here, please?
It is, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Handover is one small thing, but it is not a small thing, it's a big thing, no doubt. But my question is a little bit silly, and I hope the panel will don't laugh at it.
Please go ahead.
See, in GB meetings, regularly, hardly anybody come. So how do you define a quorum? How do you define a majority? How do you define a quorum? How do you define a majority? It's a bit...
Yeah, that is something which you will have in your bylaws of your association.
I can only tell you what I have done in my apartment.
Yeah, please.
One, WhatsApp is banned. We use Adda for everything. Now, if you come back and say, I have not seen Adda, I have not seen the notification now, it's your problem. Two, NRIs don't have a say. You have to be a resident owner. You can be an owner living in the next building. Your voice doesn't count here. Because your quality of life is not affected. You sit somewhere remotely and want to dictate what is going on here, or download from Google and YouTube and send one WhatsApp link.
My parents are living, sir, here.
Hold on, sir.
My parents
Hold
are
on.
living.
So I am telling you what I have done in my apartment. If you are an NRI, if you are a non-resident of this apartment, if you don't live here, you have to go with the quorum of the people who live here. Now in our case, only 30% of the owners live in the apartment. So I consider that 30% to be the 100%, and whatever quorum I need from that, we do. Because if you go into all these things, you're never going to go anywhere. Collectively, you're never going to arrive at a decision.
Absolutely correct, sir. But if 30% all don't come, sir, the point is those also don't come.
That is something, that is something which you need to handle. You need to just mobilize your residents. Okay. Yes, and it depends on the bylaws.
See, in terms of the law, mostly quorums, at least the bylaws that I've seen, will give you who has to be, the number of people or the percentage that has to be present, And it says if such people don't turn up, then you can adjourn the meeting by either X amount of hours or X amount of days. And whoever is present, that becomes your quorum. Only with respect to amendment to bylaw, the quorum is usually large. That in most cases, in my experience, becomes unattainable to get that kind of number to amend bylaws. But generally, to conduct every other activity, most bylaws have the flexibility of adjourning meetings, and whoever comes becomes the quorum. That is the legal aspect, but not necessary. Depends on how the bylaw is structured.
What we did was 50% should be there for the quorum. If 50% is not there, then half an hour it is extended, and again we come back, and whoever is there, that is the quorum. And 51% of that is enough to.
That's generally how the bylaw.
Yeah.
Question
Okay,
on.
we have the mic with the
Question on
gentleman in the
handover.
check.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
our developer is not eager to hand over. Now we have a vast experience here in this room because a lot of them have already taken the handover. How do we make it happen? What are the best practices? What should we do to coax him into handing over to association?
Yeah, would you like to take that?
I think this is more on it's a dispute basically. I think Sneha would be the right.
See, if you ask me, I'm going to ask you to take an aggressive stand saying, go after the builder, you will have to fight for your rights. I mean, there is no being complacent here at all. You just have to aggressively fight, because some builders, when they know you have the manpower, you have the, you're there, then they will come running back. But if they see that you're a weak association, you don't, and they will also relax. So in that sense, I would say you'll have to take action, because law is in the favor of handover.
Thank you.
The gentleman in the check shirt, you wanted to ask some questions.
Sorry to come back to the legal aspects again. Regarding EC, each flat after the sale deed registration, we have encumbrance certificate on the flat, which has Schedule A, Schedule B, which is the flat. We see that the land EC still remains in the builder's name. So what is the process to get that removed?
So that's a very wrong understanding. There's nothing called land EC, sir.
No, in the records of the...
No, there is nothing. I'm sorry. Please don't use words like land EC, because that is the problem. People are using a lot of words today without understanding the concept. Let's say if 1 acre of land is in the name of the builder or landowner, and they form that into apartments. The minute that land gets bifurcated between 100 people who have 100 apartments, there is no more land EC or whatever you're calling it. That doesn't exist. Because the way you look at documentation is until 2010, if it's owned by the builder, in 2011, if everything is sold off and the bifurcation of that land happens, then automatically based on the bifurcation, different khatas are given. So that obviously that record until 2010 is going to exist. And see, EC you have to understand, it's prepared by sub-registrar office. You can't treat that as a holy book.
Right.
They will mindlessly give you nil EC. They'll keep giving you nil EC if you apply in the Schedule A property, that is your larger property.
Okay.
But then the minute there is a kata bifurcation, nobody is going to look at that previous EC.
So the final process to actually take full handover would be to have the conveyance deed. Is that correct then?
No, there are a lot of things when it comes to final handover. Final handover of what? An association?
To the association.
To the association, then of course your sale deeds are already there, but you also need your other documents, your sanctions, your permissions, the entire legal thing that is required for a handover. And of course, I would always say that take a kata bifurcation order. Even if the builder doesn't give you kata per se, take that bifurcation from him. It's easier for him to get that done than than the owner struggle for it.
Okay, a related question regarding khata bifurcation. We have just begun the process. So there we got in touch with the BBMP officials. So they say that, say we have 192 flats, 192 khatas, it will be bifurcated. So there will be a common area khata, or in fact which they'll retain?
No, there will not be any common area khata because the UDS will be already sold to all the owners, yes.
Okay. So will there be property tax to be paid on the common areas? Is that
common area association will have to pay based on the super built up area.
Madam, one last question. Madam, last question.
Yeah, this is
No,
something...
there will not be common area because it's already put into your individual flat. So you will not be paying tax on separately.
Yeah, this is a confusion we had when... So currently the...
Any BBMB has raised a question saying that in the common area you have to pay the tax?
They just informed us.
No, they cannot inform.
Okay.
You get in writing.
All
They
right.
cannot give any
Okay.
order like that. Okay.
Sir, on last question. To register KAOA, madam,
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
we have actually run
last
out of time.
last question, madam.
So, just to clarify my point, so if, yes, a 192 flat, so the one khata has to be bifurcated into 192 and that's all. That's all, right? Okay, yeah,
That's it.
thank you.
Mutation, does it hold anything? Because khata and all is a notional one. But once the land is there in the revenue record, till now, with the landowner's name is there. What happens to that? Because mutation is not happening. That is
Mutation is a term that you generally use when the land is of agricultural nature. When you mutate the land, you get something called MR, which is a mutation register extract, where an entry is made. That reflects in your RTC. Those are for agricultural lands.
Today, even when I go to Kaveri and see, the land records are still in the builder's.
Land records will be, sir, because you're looking at that time. If you look at an MR, it will give you the date.
What is MR?
Mutation register.
That is not done. That has to be done by the owners.
No. So the MR doesn't happen, sir. In converted lands, it is khata. Converted lands, it is khata. So the records, see, whatever records you look at, we have to look at the date, because only on that date that gets applicable. After that, subsequently, if there is another documentation that gets added, then that document's purpose is served.
Madam, last question.
Madam, one more
I have
question.
a last question which came to me ages ago, and I just held this in my hand. I'm sorry. Can you elaborate on the status of the CA site and open spaces and parks and how it should be handled in the handover?
See, open spaces, CA sites, all these are relinquished lands. Builders, developers enter into a relinquishment deed because once, they want to construct on a 1 acre land or 2 acre land, whatever is the extent, right? As per the RMP rules and as per certain regulations, you have to surrender a bit of your land to the government. So based on that, they enter into a relinquishment deed. And in that relinquishment deed, they say this much is for open space, this much is for CA, so on and so forth. Now those exist. Technically, those lands are supposed to be given back to the government. But of course, the government will not, there are also judgments which say that you can lease it back from the government for no lease amount at all. There are, that also happens. But one issue there is regarding CA sites. Now, there are empty CA sites in some apartments. If you're able to showcase that, look, we have a requirement in our apartment because there is no football ground, for example, you can ask the builder to develop that amenity for you in the CA site. That is doable. So CA site is again, that is something even government can put up structures for the benefit of people. That is also doable. So it depends. And the builder is of course obligated if some common area construction needs to be met in the common area.
Madam, last question. To
Wait,
get
madam,
registered,
few more questions.
Do we have time to take any more?
Please make time, ma'am.
madam, last question. To register KAOA, do we consent builder or to take NOC or some certificate to register? How it is?
For the KAOA?
Yes.
We've already been through that earlier in the day, right? You need to have the deed of declaration that needs to be registered by the builder before he registers property and
The
such
hierarchy
things.
was given.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so you can clarify with
Madam,
Sneha
one more question. When you said that after this bifurcation, it's all settled. In our case, we have some piece of land which is leased land from KIDB. So how will that affect?
Yeah, I mean, it's a case by case. Yes, Subhash, this is the last question, yeah.
Related to this open spaces and CA side, we have been given an allotment letter from the BDA that it is meant for play and this health and gym, and the CA side one social and culture. They told us to give us a plan to develop that site.
No. See, anyway, it is a public
No,
property.
it is in our name. It is given allotment has been allotted to our association.
Correct.
Not
so
for
that
public.
means I know, but the concept of a CA site is generally that the government has access and they can give access to public. but because of various judgments, now government is okay, they will permit you to use that CA site for your community,
Yeah.
and you can develop and use it by taking the necessary permissions. That
Yeah,
is
it's
doable.
officially allotment they are given to us only for our association, not for public.
But officially, the land still rests with the
Ah,
government.
the title will be in the name of BDA.
So, Vikas, Aditya, Satish, Neha, Mr. Roy, and Suresha, thanks so much. If any of you have further questions, I think you can email them to hemati.in and they will be forwarded to the respective people. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Thanks again.
Thank Arathi ma'am. Arathi ma'am, please come on stage to receive the memento. I request Veena to present the memento to Arathi ma'am. Satish sir, please. Devraj to present a memento to Satish sir. I request Roy sir to come. Thank you, Roy sir.